Hi, my name is Chioma and this is Saving and Investing 101. Hi, my name is Chioma. I'm a corporate finance and advisory analyst at an investment bank. I also write about personal finance on sisionabudget.wordpress.com. I started the blog because I found that there were not a lot of Nigeria-focused platforms, if you like, that discussed the day-to-day money issues that people have, and I thought that it would be useful to create such a platform. So, saving and investing. They form a part of financial literacy, which is understanding what money is, how it works, and having the skills required to manage it. For the purposes of this session, we're just going to focus on saving and investing. It's going to be a very practical session, so I'm going to need you to click pause right now, grab a pen, some paper, because you're going to take notes. To get started with coming up with a plan for saving and or investing, we're going to come back to that and or. Um, it's important to set intentions for what it is that you want to do because it gives you a purpose. Saving, being frugal, investing, whatever term you want to use, doesn't come naturally to everybody. So having a purpose for doing it will be the driving force for staying the course. Now, why is it important to save or invest? You find that a lot of people, because they don't plan for um, future eventualities, live from paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes their paycheck don't even cover their expenses. Remember I said we're going to come back to and or? Well, sometimes it can be overwhelming if you decide to start saving and investing at the same time. So usually I would encourage people to get into a saving habit before they start to invest. So this is the point at which you're going to need the pen and paper that we got earlier. First of all, your goals have to be realistic. It doesn't have to be limited to financial things. I know we're talking about money here. They have to be realistic, have to be time bound, and by that I mean that you have to set an end date by which you are going to complete whatever it is that you have, purpose to do. Now, prior to now, I'd created a resource to help people develop life goals. So if you want to look into that, if you need a structure to help you determine what it is that you want to do, I would suggest that you go to bit.ly/plan your best year yet. So once you're done setting goals or setting intentions for saving, you have to take stock of where you are right now. So by that I mean you need to understand where your income comes from. It could be your job, it could be any side hustles you have. I'm a big fan of side hustles. You need to understand how you spend money, so your expenses. One way to do that would be to give yourself a time frame, maybe 2 weeks, a month. Have a small book where you record everything that you spend, and I literally mean every copper that you spend. And then at the end of that month, you will have a good understanding of where your money goes. I say that from personal experience because it's easy to just spend money on the daily, but you don't know where that money is going. You'll be surprised at the things that you will discover just from keeping a record for a week, 2 weeks. So once you're done with that, the next thing I would ask you to do is to make sure that for the month after that, you do not spend anything beyond what you are bringing in. At this point, we know how much we're bringing in, how much is going out. So when you're making a plan for the next month after you've kept this record, you do not spend more than what you are bringing in. The next thing we're going to talk about is creating a budget. Guess what? You already have. Just by understanding how money comes in and understanding how your money goes out, you have created a basic budget. And that's all a budget is, really, balancing your income with your expenses. So now that we know um, all these things, we can determine how we move forward. What you'll do is, on your bit of paper that you will have all your income on one side and all the expenses that we've determined on the other side. If you go over your income, go through that list again and take out all the things that are non-essential. So your essentials would be rent, would be transportation, because you have to get to work to be able to earn money to budget. Okay. So once you run through, you've covered food, shelter, transportation, whatever you have left over, you need to determine for yourself how much you need to put aside to be able to hit your savings goals that you have set before. So there's no one size fits all. What works for me might not work for you, might not work for the next man. You have to determine what is feasible, because if you don't, you are going to struggle to stick with it. Once you've done all of this, you're well on your way. Everything else after this is willpower. Now, I feel like I've given enough um, of a basic introduction to budgeting, but I've also had people who have asked that I give them specific ratios of how much of their income should go on X and how much of their income should go on Y. So just for the purpose of preempting questions, I would suggest a 50-20-30 split is a fairly common recommendation. I mean, if you Google it, you would be able to read more about it. But essentially what it is that you spend 50% of your income on living expenses, another 20% on lifestyle expenses, so doing your hair, going out to dinner, going to the cinema, things like that, and then 30% on debt and saving. I mean, that would only apply if you do have debt. Otherwise, 30% should go into savings. That's only if you want specific ratios of how to apply your money. Otherwise, I would suggest that you do what works for you, because, and I mean, it's a whole trial and error process. You're not going to get it right the first time. And the reason why I say that is that's the only way to stick with it long term. So we're going to move on to investing. Key areas in which people invest are stocks, real estate, starting a business, treasury bills, mutual funds. A key aspect of investing is risk. Risk is the potential for you to lose money on your investment. So with any investment proposal that you are considering, and by that I mean any venture like real estate or parcel of land or any shares that you want to buy or things like that, you have to consider the probability that you are going to lose money on it. You need to make a decision for yourself how much money you are willing to lose on anything that you're going to put money into. A key feature of investing is the risk trade-off. What that means is that the higher the risk in any venture, the more return you are likely to get. Now, if you are not risk averse, which is if you are happy to take a risk on anything, then you would put your money in the highest risk possible to be able to get the most money back. To get started, I encourage people to educate themselves about whatever it is that they're going to be putting money into. If you do not understand it, do not put your money in it, because when things are going wrong, you will not know that things are going wrong, and then you're going to be left out of pocket. So it's very important to understand whatever it is that you're putting money into. Within the Nigerian context, I usually encourage people who are seeking a return but don't fully understand all their options to look at a money market fund. Most of the major Nigerian banks have a money market fund, so it would be useful to go into a branch, speak to a relationship manager, and have them explain to you what their investment policy is, or refer you to their asset management desk actually, because they will be able to give you more information on the interest rate on those accounts, which typically track higher than fixed deposit accounts, which is why I'm not even recommending those. So that's a good place to start, because you don't have to do anything. All you've done is pick a bank, put money there, and you're earning a return. While that money is sitting there, you're contributing to it, perhaps on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, whatever. You have the chance to explore all these other instruments that I've mentioned, like shares, treasury bills, real estate, if you can afford to play in that market right now, or starting a business. Like I said, I'm a big fan of side hustles, because that's especially with the way things are now, that's the easiest entry, if you like, into getting a good return on your investment. So to tie everything together, a key part of saving and investing is automation. What I mean by that is the monies allocated for saving and investing should come out almost in an automatic fashion. So, for instance, with the money market funds, you might go as far as giving whoever your relationship manager is post-dated checks. So you know that every month X amount is coming out of my account because someone has a check somewhere written for that amount. What that means is you're going to be conscious of having that money in your account at the stipulated time. So your investment will continue to grow automatically over that period of time. In terms of saving, a budget is some form of automation. It's not perfect, but some form of automation, because you have broken all your expenses into different categories, and you already know that X amount is going to that category. By so doing, you're going to stop yourself from spending that money on something else, if you like. So that brings us to the end of Saving and Investing 101. For additional resources on this topic, check the link in the description box. You can find me on Twitter at Sisi on a budget, or at my website, sisionnabudget.wordpress.com.